Welcome to Navigating Your Retirement. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore, and as always, our host is right here, the man with the plan, Travis Chance. Travis, drinking some coffee this morning. I've been drinking my iced cold brew this morning, enjoying it. You got a
Can't get
big,
into the ice cold brew.
oh, I love it. You got to put a little chocolate milk or something in with it, but yeah, otherwise it's a
You got to
pretty
make it a
bold.
milkshake.
Yeah. Not quite as much as some of the fancy drinks like the frappuccinos and stuff. But yeah, I just have pure cold brew and a little bit of chocolate milk, mix it up. Delicious.
Okay.
Delicious.
All right. Yeah.
You're drinking pure calf over there, aren't
Yeah, I haven't gotten into the cold brew. I'm
you?
I'm
Yeah.
I'm straight calf and hot and calf. So,
Yep. Yep. Well, hey, I can't picture drinking hot coffee though this time of year when the humidity starts.
well, I try to do it just inside, Tony.
That's true. Stay indoors with that hot
Stay
coffee.
indoors. Do not overwhelm your system. It will
Yeah.
crash.
Yeah, between the humidity and pollen, oof,
Oh, yeah.
it's rough out there.
No, it is. It is. Well, today, Tony, is our post. This we always record on Tuesdays. This is our post Memorial Day show. So I hope
Yeah.
you guys had a safe and great Memorial Day weekend, and all of our listeners as well. Um, as I was telling you, one of my things I like to do on Memorial Day weekend is watch the Band of Brothers miniseries that was on HBO because obviously we remember and are thankful for the sacrifices that our soldiers and our enlisted have made for us. And that is, if you guys out there have not watched that or have not had a chance, that is something you need to go and take a look at. That's a great miniseries. They did a terrific job. And you know what else is crazy, Tony? Because it was, I don't know, it was made a little over 20 years ago. The list of actors that are now like A-list actors that were in it that just had like little bit parts, it's crazy. Like there's like 30 actors that you are going to look at as you go through them and be like, oh, that's Michael Fassbender. That's
Yeah.
oh man, that's Tom Hardy. You know, you'll go through it, and
Tom Hardy.
it's pretty remarkable. But a great
Oh,
way to remember.
so well done, and a great way to remember those who have served and given their lives for this country, for the freedoms we have.
Right.
And that's what Memorial Day is all about. And we should do that every day, but it really draws attention to it. And I think that's neat. As I told you, I spent the day working on my deck in the back, building a new deck on the lower level. We have an
Mhm.
upper level deck. Now I'm building a little screened in porch underneath. So yeah, well, I'll tell you what, great weekend, Memorial Day weekend. Hope everybody remembered those who served. I think that's fantastic. Now, Travis, you have a hot topic today to talk about, and what are we talking about today?
Tony, we spent a lot of time on our show talking about investments, talking about taxes, talking about investment income, but we don't talk about Social Security. I don't think as often as we probably should.
Right.
And over the weekend, I got to thinking about what are some topics that we haven't covered because this is we're getting really close. We're a stone's throw away from 300 episodes.
Yeah.
So we have certainly talked about a lot. We've covered a lot, but I'm trying to think of content at least either things we've talked about in the past or things that we should talk about a bit more. And Social Security was the one that kept coming up. So that's what we're going to talk about this morning because let's face it, Social Security is a hot topic right now for no other reason than you get that little acknowledgement on your Social Security statement saying, hey, if things go unchecked or unchanged, Social Security may have an issue. It was at one point it was 2035 and it's 2033, and it keeps bouncing around because it's based on assets versus liabilities, and it's based on inflows and outflows. So right now, I think let's take today and talk just through some of the things. I'm gonna give you some crazy statistics and facts. I'm gonna give you some maybe do it like not to borrow from another holiday early, but we'll do it like Christmas Story. We'll do the Ghost of Christmas Past, Christmas Present, Christmas Future, kind
Uh-huh.
of kind of where it's come from, where it is, and where it's going,
Sounds good.
and see where we'll get in, where we fit in. Right? We'll just see where we go from here, because you never know where I'm going to take us. Uh,
Well, I think that sounds great because Social Security, everybody's concerned about it, and it's basically the foundation of most people's retirement plans and retirement income.
well,
Where do we begin?
that's certainly part of what I'm going to cover today. But let's start from the beginning. Number one, uh, you know, Social Security is a program that everyone pays into. If you're working, you're paying into it. If you're self-employed, you have a self-employment tax. You're
Mhm.
paying into your Medicare and your Social Security. Why? Because they're safety nets, right?
Yep.
They're here, and especially Social Security. It's designed to help the elderly, create a baseline of income, and it's typically the baseline for a lot of retirees, right?
Right.
It's that social foundation, if you will. Okay. But there are some questions that keep coming up, like for instance, will it still be there? Should people claim early?
Mhm.
Is the system in jeopardy of running out of money? I get that quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
um, what happens if Congress does nothing? Well, would that be any different than any other day? I digress. But you get my point. I mean, at some point, we are going to have a reckoning, right? So what we're going to talk about today, like I said, is some of the history of Social Security, some weird stats and facts that most people don't know about. What are retirees doing today, and what are some of the things that the system may be facing tomorrow? So let's talk briefly. We're not going to spend a great deal of time. Let's talk briefly on the history of Social Security.
Sure.
1935, countries in the middle of a Great Depression. People were broke, banks failed, and for retirement, basically you had to work until you just couldn't physically do it anymore, right? And there was no you get to 62 and all of a sudden you get to just go home. You worked until you couldn't work anymore, and that's the reason a lot of people had a lot of kids, especially on the farm, because that was a way for them to continue to produce and have income, have money. It was a family business, family hierarchy. And then Social Security came along, and it was signed into law by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, Social Security Act of 1935, because about half of the seniors during that time in the Great Depression lived in poverty.
Yep.
So it was a huge issue. But what was the premise? Well, workers pay into the system, and then later on they receive an income. Now, Tony, let's pause real quick. Do you know who the first person to ever draw a Social Security check was? And I'll give you a hint. She was in Vermont.
I
If
I'm a
that helps you
May something.
out. Ida Mae Fuller. Very,
Ida Mae
very good.
Fuller.
Ida Mae
Yeah.
Fuller. And do you know what her first benefit check was?
I don't know that amount.
I was going to say, before I took a sip of coffee, I was going to give you a bottle of bourbon if you could guess that number. $22.54.
$22.
She paid in a total of $25 in total taxes in her working career, and she ended up collecting $23,000 in lifetime benefits.
Wow.
Might be Warren Buffett-esque greatest return on investment in financial history.
Yeah, I would
I
say.
mean, but it was a good one, right?
Yeah.
She hit it just right. But life expectancy back then was 65 years old, or excuse me, 61 years old. But you had to
Yeah.
get to 65 to actually be able to draw.
Sure.
Well, she lived into her 90s, so the Social Security, the pinheads and those with the calculators, the actuaries, they were wrong from the get go, right?
Yep.
But here again, it was a safety net designed not for anything other than just to lift those out of poverty.
Sure.
Um, But here's some other random facts. And I thought I might throw these in. Social Security facts, guys. If you want to throw them out at your next dinner party, don't tell them where you got it from. Just by all means, these are yours. Social Security numbers were never intended to become your national ID. There was never an intention in the beginning for, like, everything you do now, almost provide your last four of your social, provide your social security
Yeah.
number. It was never designed for that. It has morphed into that over
Huh.
time.
Interesting. I've never thought of that.
Yep. Social
Huh.
security taxes were collected the first ones in 1937. Benefits were originally meant to fund retirement, but never as a safety net. The average worker benefit today, any guesses, Tony?
$2,000 a month.
$2,000 a month. Are you reading something that did you pull this up without me knowing?
No, but I talk about Social Security
Okay.
about
All
every
right.
day.
More than 70 million Americans receive Social Security right now.
Wow.
42%. This was kind of scary. 42% of retirees rely on Social Security for at least half of their income.
Oof. Wow.
14% rely on it for 90% of their income.
Ooh.
That's crazy. And here's a really crazy one. Back in the 60s, there were 5 workers for every beneficiary drawing Social Security. Means 5 people were paying in, 1 person drawing out.
Yep.
Today, that number is 2.7 workers per retiree. And if you want to know why there's been this just huge tectonic plate shift, it's felt like, it's because we have so many more drawing than we do paying in, as before we started, back like in the 50s and 60s when this thing was first getting going. That's one of the reasons why you're seeing the stress on the overall system, right?
Right, because there's so many elderly
putting
people.
pressure on it because we don't have that ability of those paying in. Now, another crazy thing to think about is Social Security. Even though it is a pension-like program, it is designed to pay pension-like income. It is not invested like a pension. It is literally just put in U.S. Treasuries. So another thing that I think is something, before our politicians and the powers that be decide what to do, maybe think about investing it where it can actually get a rate of return to offset those that are fewer paying in versus those getting paychecks today.
Yeah, that's
Because
one possible solution I've
yeah,
heard
if you're
floated.
only getting, say, an average across, multi tranches of treasury, say a 2, 3, 4% rate of return, a pension right now, most pension plans shoot for a 5 to 7% rate of return,
Yeah.
right? Some years where the market does 30, it might do 8 or 9. Some years where the market's down, it's going to be somewhat secure. It may only go down 4 or 5. So you don't have to worry about massively underfunded liabilities. So I think more than anything, knowing some of that, even as crazy as it is, it may be good fodder for dinner party conversation, but I think it's also important to understand. So now that we've kind of given you some of the backstory, given you some of the crazy stats, let's talk about today. What's happening today? Well, the first thing is, if you want to think about Social Security, it's important to know the rules. First things first, you can claim at 62. And right now, for most people, especially those born 1960 and later, 67 is your full retirement age, 67 years old. Benefits grow all the way. You can defer up until age 70. And of course, the longer you delay, the more your check's going to be, right? If you start at 62 and your full retirement age is 67, then you're only going to get about 70 cents on the dollar. However, if you wait until age 70, it could grow to as much as 124% of your projected benefit. So I think for a lot of people, claiming at 62 is one of the most popular ages, but it's probably something that we should at least think about waiting until full retirement age. We'll talk a little bit about why that is in just a moment, as far as beneficiaries drawing, and then those that are, let's say, your spouses, and the impact on spouse, and if one of you were to pass away. But why are people drawing at 62? Well, I think there's this huge disconnect, because when you get to 62, most people, they'll say, "Oh, well, I did the math, and I ran the spreadsheet, I'm going to draw at 62 because if I wait any longer, I'm going to lose money." That's not always the case, and I'll tell you why. It's because you have to use Social Security as a tool inside of your overall plan. Taking it early could cause you to pay more taxes in retirement, which means you may actually generate less in spendable income over your retirement. Tony, think about it. Social Security is not taxed as ordinary income, it is provisional income. So if you live long enough, and if you set your tax at what I would consider tax advantaged income base lower, you have to put more taxable income on top to get to your desired income level. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So if you set it lower and you have more ordinary income, what is likely to happen? Uncle Sam is probably going to take more of your money.
Yeah.
If you set that base higher, that means less ordinary income is needed to meet your goal. You may pay less, which means I know that your calculation is just based off of that, but you have to think about the impact on your investment portfolio, the impact on your total taxes paid through retirement. All of these things come into contact.
Yeah, you don't want to be bumped up into a higher tax bracket or have to pay IRMA on your Medicare supplements,
which is highly likely if you do it the first option versus the second.
Right.
Some of the other reasons why people, let's face it, why people take it early is because we have an issue with health issues in this country right now.
Yeah.
You have job loss. You could have job burnout. I get that. You could have lack of savings. Maybe you want to take it early because you just need it to supplement your income, period. A lot of people fear that the system could change. All these things are issues that we have to come to grips with in our own minds, right? Sometimes that's our worst enemy. But the one that's growing more and more and more is because people are really worried about, well, what happens if I don't take it and all of a sudden they do reduce my Social Security, say 2033.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
Well, here's why. Here's why, Travis.
Here's another truth. Social Security is dying.
Okay.
When you hear a guy like that,
when you hear Kevin Spacey, you have to take into consideration. Yeah. Oh my God, you threw in House of Cards. Oh wow. Okay. All right. Well, you went there.
I did.
Yeah. You might as well play the whole clip, make everybody really depressed.
No.
Okay. All right. So getting off of Kevin Spacey for just a moment. 2033 is D-Day, if you will, for Social Security. But where people get confused is because they think that it's going to go away. They think it's going to, it's going to have this, all of a sudden, this flipping of the light switch, and all of a sudden they don't get their check. That's not true. Social Security still collects payroll checks. Even if the money runs out, they still have money coming in. According to estimates right now, they can still, on just present revenue, they could cover about 75 to 80% of promised benefits. So for those that are not using it as their benchmark or as their main source of income, that's probably something they could manage. Now, there are those out there, like we talked about, that you're going to have a really difficult decision to make. Now, that's not a political opinion. That's just facts. That's life.
Yeah.
That's inflows versus outflows.
Yep.
So one of the things that I would tell you to do is this, and this is what we talk about so frequently in our office and at the courses that we teach. Social Security, it should be thought of as a tool, as one cog in the machine, if you will, not as your your overall financial well-being. And I think we sometimes put too much emphasis on that particular program when I mean, we're giving you the facts. The Social Security is giving you the facts. I mean, my God, the government's even chipping in and trying to give you some facts here. You have to think about it as an overall piece of the puzzle. And if you do look at your Social Security or look at your retirement income plan and Social Security, that reduction is going to cause you to have a decrease in your cost of living or in your living expenses or your income, then you need to think through that and say, okay, how do I need to plan to offset that kind of reduction? And most people, I hate to say it, most people are not going to go to that level, Tony. And that's really something I heard this weekend from someone, and I was like, wow, that really hits home. I heard someone say facts don't care about feelings. And that's a fact. You may feel that Social Security is designed to be there for you, and I get it. I think it should be. I think the fact that we're having this conversation is completely ludicrous.
Yeah.
But facts don't care about feelings. And if you know that that is something that could happen in the future, if you haven't plotted your course and if you don't actually have the ability to produce a surplus that could offset that in the future, then you may be asking for trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that? Why do we need to have that level of planning? Well, there's three reasons. Number one, Americans are living longer. Tony, people are collecting benefits and living longer. We talked about the fact that you had to be 65, but the life expectancy was 61 in the beginning. Now, if you draw at 62, you could potentially draw for 30 years.
Yeah.
It was never designed to be that to have that level of impact, but that's where we are.
Yeah.
So if we are seeing more people pay in and then draw exponentially longer, we got to understand at some point there's going to be an issue. Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because we just also talked about the fact there's fewer workers paying in for every worker drawing out, because the birth rates in this country, Tony, are lower.
Yep.
We're not turning into Japan in the 90s. We're not turning into, which actually China's got a real problem. That one birth policy has really bit them in the you know what.
Yep.
But we are seeing lower birth rates, which means less workers paying in. And the reason that's important is because, guys, if you're listening to this podcast, I don't have a lot of 30-somethings listening to this podcast. You're probably a baby boomer. And a baby boomer, the retirement wave, that was a massive shock to the system that still reverberates today.
Yeah. There's 11,200 people turning 65 every single day in this country.
Yes.
Just in this country.
That's crazy. That has created one of the biggest balancing acts that our country is faced with.
Yeah.
Because we are seeing our workforce shrink, and we're seeing our baby boomer retiree population continue to grow. Yeah. And then you also throw the little asterisk on top. You throw AI into that equation. Think about what that could have as an impact. Now, don't get me wrong, it could have some good impact, but think about the amount of workforce it could take out of, or the amount of people it could take out of the workforce. That's payroll taxes that are not going to be paid. So, Tony, do you see where I'm going with this?
Yep.
This is something that's not going away, folks. It's not something we get to just wish back into the envelope and just stack in the stack of bills section.
Right.
In your account.
Yeah. And there are some things they could possibly do to shore it up.
Yep.
But they haven't yet. And they've had plenty of time.
Well, they are politicians, Tony.
Yeah.
Let's don't overlook that fact.
Yeah, we don't want to give them too much credit, but there's talk of raising the full retirement age to 70,
raising payroll taxes.
Raising payroll taxes from
increasing the wage cap.
Because right now I think if you make over like 180,000 a year, anything above that you don't pay into Social Security payroll tax. And if they took that away, but yet didn't increase the benefit amount for those people, that could help shore it up. I think they may end up doing some things to shore it up, but it's still going to have problems, and it's still eventually if not you, your kids, your grandkids, they're going to take some cuts at some point.
Well, but it goes back to the original inception. It was never designed to grow into the beast it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it was designed to be the old age survivor disability income.
Yeah.
OASDI. That was the original creation, right? It's old age, survivors, children, disability. It was designed to be a benefit for those that needed extra help. It was never designed to be a staple across everybody's
retirement fund. Yep. Yeah.
But folks, and Tony and I are throwing out different ideas about what they could do. We have no idea, right? All we can do is kind of track what comes out of House Ways and Means, some of the ideas, and these are the most popular that we've talked about. But at the end of the day, what we have to do is we have to think about it, I think, logically, right? You got to take facts, don't care about feelings, right? I'm gonna say that again. You have to look at it from your perspective and your retirement plan. Your retirement plan should be able to stand on its own 2 feet, even with a 20% reduction in Social Security. Yeah. If it can't, then you have a problem.
Yeah.
And the only way to address that problem is to plan, because you have to plan both ways. I always tell clients, I tell everybody I come in contact with, make the mistakes on paper so you don't have to make them in real life. If you create a plan so that in the event that there is a 20% reduction, you're okay, great. You've already done it. You don't have the stress of thinking, okay, well, oh my God, what if I do see that reduction? How am I going to eat? You already know the answer to that. If it does not come to fruition, then that means you just have that much more money to spend in retirement.
Exactly.
Who thinks that's a bad idea? But a lot of the stress and a lot of the pressure that we put on ourselves is because we just don't know. And we get, like I said, we end up in our feelings when we should end up in facts. You need to have a plan that addresses all these topics, not just in the format of just Social Security on its own merit, but I'm talking about putting everything together with your income sources, with your pensions or Social Security together, your retirement income plan. How much can your investment account actually produce an income? And if it has a shortfall, address it. If it's okay, that's great. You already know the answer. But the problem is most people do not have a real retirement income plan, Tony. And that's where you need to, if you're going to do anything for yourself in the next coming weeks, next coming months, you need to do that for you and for your spouse. Sit down, create that dialogue, figure out what you're going to need to live comfortably, and then make the decisions to make it happen. Yeah. Because if you just wait on the government to do something, God help you. That is not that is not a great idea. That is more in the camp of using hope as a strategy. Hope for our kids is great. Hope that we're gonna make good decisions. That's all well and good. Hope that we can end this freaking skirmish and get oil prices down. That's great.
Yeah.
But that's not a great retirement plan. Right. That is not a sound plan for you and for your spouse. And folks, that's why we're here. If you have questions, we have answers. Give us a call, 877-269-0839. That's 877-269-0839. And you can also visit us on our brand new website. Still got the new car smell on it, Tony.
Yeah.
And then also we have our class schedule for summer coming up. We've got one coming up June 4th. It'll be a 2-night, June 4th, June 11th. It's located in Savannah. We've got other locations coming online in July and August, and actually through the end of the year. Our last one, I think, is November. So, folks, you have the opportunity. If this one doesn't work, catch one of our next ones, but make sure you get some good information to start getting that thought-provoking conversation going so that you can plan for you and for your spouse and plan for your family effectively.
Excellent. And that website, once again, is chancefinancialgroup.com. You can sign up for the class directly on the site, or you can use it to call our office, 877-269-0839. One of our staff will be happy to get you some information. All right. All I have to say is
God bless Social Security.
God bless Social Security.
Thank God it wasn't another Kevin Spacey.
No. All right. Thanks, Travis, and great show today. Listeners and viewers, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Navigating Your Retirement with our host, Travis Chance. All right.